Neurodivergent communication is completely different from neurotypical communication, and these communication differences can put a strain on relationships between neurodivergent people and neurotypical people. It affects how we understand others, but also how we feel understood by others. So let's talk about some neurodivergent-friendly communication strategies that can help you feel connected to others, but also true to yourself. Hi, my name is Megan, and welcome to Neurodivergent Magic, the YouTube channel for relatable and accessible neurodivergent content. I want to start this video off by reminding you that the way you communicate is not wrong. It's just different. The double empathy problem shows us that neurodivergent folks tend to communicate differently from neurotypical folks, and this creates a missed connection. Right? It's as if two cars are driving towards each other, but they never actually crash because one is on an overpass and one is driving below. We just miss each other. Neither one of us is taking the wrong road. We just communicate differently, and that's okay. Unfortunately, our society doesn't really frame things this way. We often hear about the social deficits of neurodivergent folks, especially autistic folks. And the problems in our relationships are often pinned solely on us, when in reality, they're a communication problem, and communication goes both ways. If you feel like you are the problem in your relationships, then you've probably internalized this message that neurodivergence is wrong. And I'm here to tell you it's not. Neurodivergence is a natural difference in the way that the brain works, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with being neurodivergent. You are not the source of the problems. The problem comes from where there's a disconnect between you. If this feels like a lot to take in and to process and to truly accept, then I really recommend you keep a journal. Journaling is an amazing tool for self-reflection. I personally use it all the time, almost every day, but I highly recommend it, especially for neurodivergent folks who are processing everything that they've been through as a neurodivergent person and are processing some of this internalized ableism. This stuff is a lot to hold in your head. It's really helpful to get it down on paper so that you can make better sense of it. I also think journaling can really help neurodivergent folks because when we journal about our problems, we come to a better understanding of those problems. And when we better understand what's going on with us, we are able to communicate that better with others. If you've just got a million feelings and thoughts roaming around in your head and you're trying to communicate them to somebody else, that's often going to be a complete shit show. Instead, ask for a break real quick and take the time to journal what you're feeling. Then you can come back to the conversation with better knowledge of yourself, and that way you'll feel better understood by the other person and you'll be better able to communicate what's going on in your head. My next big tip for neurodivergent communication skills is screw eye contact. In many Western cultures, eye contact is expected to indicate that you're paying attention and that you care what the other person's talking about. But for a lot of neurodivergent folks, especially autistic folks, eye contact can be painful. I actually once had a professor in college who thought that I had a cold for 4 years because my eyes always watered when I had to look him in the eye. And I was too embarrassed to say that, so I always just said, "Oh, I have a cold." And I used that lie for 4 years, and he never questioned it. The sad thing is, I didn't have to lie about that. I could have just broken eye contact more often, and he probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. Or there's a really common trick amongst neurodivergent folks where you look right here instead of looking somebody in the eye, and the other person typically can't tell that you're not making eye contact. But I didn't know any of this then. All I knew is that he was a professor, and I was supposed to look him in the eye, but he was hugely intimidating to me, and so it stressed me out and felt almost physically painful to do so, but I felt obligated to do it. Nowadays, I don't bother with that. I don't make eye contact with people very often. I look somewhere else, I look off to the side, I look at their forehead. I do what I have to do to make myself comfortable, and that's okay. Another great tip for improving your communication is learning about alexithymia. Alexithymia is the trouble with comprehending, understanding, and expressing your emotions. And it's super common amongst neurodivergent folks. If you struggle with alexithymia, somebody might be able to tell that something's wrong, and so they ask you, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And you have no idea how to respond because you know the answer is no, I'm not okay, but you have no idea how to explain what's going on in your body. This is alexithymia, and it's totally okay. Something really helpful is explaining alexithymia to your loved ones. This way, if they ask, are you okay? What's wrong? And you don't answer or you don't tell them what's wrong, they don't think you're hiding something from them. They understand that, oh, they just are having trouble putting words to it. Okay, next, let's talk about nonverbal communication. Texting, writing letters, these are perfectly valid forms of communication, and you can absolutely rely on them, especially if you happen to go nonverbal sometimes. Personally, I use texting to talk about things that are too intimidating to talk about in person. And sometimes I'll write letters if I have a lot to say and I don't want to be interrupted or invalidated in the middle of what I have to say. Neurotypical folks tend to prioritize spoken communication over all other types of communication. It's considered a sign of respect to talk to someone directly about what's going on. But that doesn't mean that you have to abide by those rules. Neurodivergent communication may rely more on texting and letter writing and things that give us a little bit of space to process our emotions before we hear about your emotions. And that's also a perfectly valid way of communicating. Finally, one of the best communication tips I can give you for your relationships is to start unmasking. Masking is when we hide our true selves and we create a new self that we think other people will like more. And it's really detrimental to our sense of self and therefore makes it really hard to connect with others. It's hard to connect authentically with another person if you're not being yourself. Being genuine and authentic as a neurodivergent person in this neurotypical world is really hard, but I know that you can do it. It takes practice and it takes support from others, but over time you might be surprised at how good you are at connecting with people when you're truly yourself. If you're looking for some support on how to be yourself in your relationships, go to the description and check out Love and War, Navigating Neurodivergent Relationships. It's my latest course that I've created, and it's all about everything I've been talking about in this video. How to show up authentically, how to connect, how to improve your relationships as a neurodivergent person. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments, and as always, I will see you next Tuesday.